Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Where are we? Great. We're streaming. Okay, good. How's everyone doing? Welcome to Uncivil Law. I wanted to do some editing. Normally I do this offline, but I was feeling a little lonely. So I thought I'd edit together with you. So fun, exciting. So, yeah. So let's edit together. This is this morning's stream. And my editing style is just really simple because I don't know really how to do anything more complicated. I just get rid of the bits we don't need. Okay, so let's see. Why is my audio? Why is my audio going through the desktop? Problem number one. Okay, now I have no audio at all. Audio. Speakers. It's not what I want at all. Let me just play a random YouTube video, see what happens. Popcorn Planet.
A spokesman for them
that goes
said
through my
in a
desktop
statement,
too.
Dominion's litigation exposed some of the misconduct and damage caused by Fox's disinformation campaign. Smartmatic will expose the rest. So, I mean, it does seem interesting that there could still be more to this, even though they've settled. Dominion's chief executive called the settlement historic. Fox has admitted telling lies about issue an apology.
What the hell is this? I got random audio. My audio isn't going through the right channel. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. I am your host, Uncivil Law, a licensed attorney in both Texas and Virginia. It is April the 18th of 2023. A last-minute reminder to... What the hell is this? Of course, if they're not ready, you can always file for an extension. Okay. Now I've got nothing. I've got no audio. Breaking yesterday, a Missouri man had... All right, fine. We'll just do it through the desktop. That's fine. This seems to be a person who way overreacted to things. All right, we'll just do it through the desktop. It'll be fine. Ish. Do not call. Having that kind of day, I guess. All right. Pause this and probably will result in a murder charge. What the hell is going on? NVIDIA high definition audio. If I press play, what happens? I would imagine. And probably a conviction. Can't win sometimes, man. You just cannot win. You gotta laugh, man. The 85-year-old white man. All right, fine. We'll just do it through the desktop audio. Oh, Lord. All right, fine. All right. Let's see. So. Done. All right. We begin with a story that was breaking yesterday. A Missouri man. We begin with a story that was breaking yesterday. A Missouri man has been charged in the shooting of a black teenager in front of his door. This does not seem to be a lawful shoot based on the information that is currently available. This seems to be a person who way overreacted to things that do not cause this and probably will result in a murder charge, I would imagine, and probably a conviction. The 85-year-old white man shot a black teen in his front door last week has been charged with armed assault. Well, yeah, he's not dead, so he can't be charged with murder. I apologize. Well, that's not actually technically speaking true because we don't know if he'll die yet. So if he dies at some point in the future relating to this, and it could potentially be months or even years from now. So that murder charge, that's still possible, right? It was like, we don't know if he's dead yet. I mean, he isn't dead today, but if he dies tomorrow, and it could potentially be months or even years from now. So that murder charge, that's still possible, right? It was like, we don't know if he's dead yet. I mean, he isn't dead today, but if he dies tomorrow, and it could be. Bits du jour is selling an audio program. So, I wouldn't be too. Dominion settled for $1 billion. Lol. I guess we'll be covering that tomorrow. Yep. Sounds about right, my friend. Sounds about right. No, I wouldn't be too sure on that murder charge thing. But at the moment, armed assault. The prosecutors say the news cop that Andrew Lester shot the 16-year-old who's recovering at his home, who's currently been released from the hospital. How long does it take me to edit? Not that long, because my edits are pretty simple. I just make sure I have to delete bad takes. So basically all I do is remove breaks in the audio where I pause. I remove like these pauses a little bit to clean up the timeline a little bit, make it a little bit faster when I'm, legally. So see, like that's just kind of like a long pause that I don't really need. So just trim out these long pauses. And then any bad takes where I do like a second reading or something like that. So it's really simple. I just do simple jump cuts. I wouldn't be too sure on that murder charge thing. I'd be too sure on that murder charge. No, I wouldn't be too sure. So like for example there where I repeat myself, I can delete that a little bit. Be too sure on that. I wouldn't be too sure on that murder charge thing. But at the moment, armed assault. The prosecutors say to News Talk that Andrew Lester shot the 16-year-old who's recovering at his home, who's currently been released from the hospital. Again, legally. 787 million? So hey, Fox News got a half off discount. Maybe timestamp your legal news roundup instead of making it short so it takes people away from viewing the roundup. I don't mind. Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense to me. Like if I were going to go that way, I'd go the exact opposite direction. I wouldn't stream the roundup and I just release the edited stuff. So yeah. I don't mind if people don't. And like the roundup covers more ground than the edited stuff, right? We only released like 1 or 2 stories, so. But I should probably try to do it. Well, I covered the man who died in starvation from police custody. I did. We released it as an edited video yesterday, I think. If he has some sort of damage to his body as a result of the gunshot, and you can prove that damage caused his death, murder, Yeah. So there is like your observation is not wholly invalid. Doing the live and then releasing it as edited does mean the content does tend to step on itself. But you know. But if anything, I would go the other direction and not do the lives and just release the edited stuff. Yeah, murder. So, something to look forward to. When asked if there was something that made you believe it was racially motivated, there is nothing currently charged in the documents on that point. What apparently happened was this individual was supposed to pick up his two younger brothers when he went to the wrong house. As to pick up his two younger brothers. Windows Movie Media. DaVinci's fine. DaVinci's free. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I know. I'm just giving tips. Fair enough. If you didn't do the live, you need to do the scheduled premiere. I like the live chatting. Fair. Some people don't like the premieres. Yeah, I'm just editing this morning's stream. Editing it down into its individual components. And then I'll choose which ones to release once I edit them down. So I typically edit everything down unless I know I don't want it. But Lester then came to the door and apparently shot him in the head for ringing the wrong doorbell. No, that's not how that works. The community leaders are demanding justice. Hello. How that works. The community leaders are demanding justice who's currently recovering from home and questioning whether or not race might be a factor. What do I do with all the time remaining after reading news articles then editing? You mean in my day? I'm not answering that question. From home and questioning whether or not race might be a factor, which maybe it is, as we see fit. Andrew Jones in chat. What about attempted murder, as we see fit? Andrew Jones in chat. What about attempted? As we see fit. Andrew Jones in chat. What about attempted murder? That's a good question, Andrew. Attempted murder requires the intent to kill. So attempted murders in many places actually harder to prove than murder. Because depending on the jurisdiction, murder doesn't necessarily require an actual intent to kill. It depends how the murder statute is defined. Doesn't seem like a full day of work. But the difference between murder and attempted murder is the intent is to perform the act that causes the death in the murder. In the case of attempted murder, So attempted. I'm sorry. Is there something I can do, Martin, to please you? Murder can actually be harder to prove than murder in many cases because of that. So you have to prove an intent to kill. It doesn't seem inherently obvious. So charging them with attempted murder is not a bad idea, and maybe the charges will eventually be that way. But it might be actually easier to charge them with murder. The shooter was taken into custody but released the next day after consultation from the prosecutor. Might be a factor, which maybe it is, as we see then. The shooter was taken into custody factor, which maybe it is, as we see then. The shooter was taken into home and questioning whether or not race might be a factor, which maybe it is, as we see then. The shooter currently recovering from home and questioning whether or not race might be a factor, which currently recovering from home and questioning whether or not race. I just thought you'd try to make a full-time income to one day support a family. Race might be a fact. The shooter was taken into custody but released the next day. This was currently recovering from home and questioning whether or not race might be a fact. The shooter was taken into custody but released. Community leaders are demanding justice. Was currently recovering home. Oh, that's not how that works. The community leaders are demanding justice. How that works. The shooter was taken into custody but released the next day after consultation from the prosecutor's office. Firearm was found at the home. Reverend Howard, president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, said in a statement the owner should be immediately arrested. I think, yes. The Missouri Senate held a moment of silence. The shooting happened Thursday night at a middle-class neighborhood in Kansas. Jarl was sent to pick up his twin younger brother. He didn't have a phone with him, and he went to the wrong block. It happens. People get lost. Sometimes they just knock on the door because they're lost and they want help, or their car breaks down. And of course, you're under no particular obligation to help them, but you don't shoot them in the head. Gates said he asked his pick up his brothers at a home at 115th Terrace, but mistakenly went to 115th Street. I mean, yeah. Jarl then apparently pulled into the home and rang the doorbell. Street. I mean, yeah. Jarl then apparently pulled into the home and rang the doorbell. And according to the family, at least, the man opened the door, looked him in the eye, and shot him in the head. That is illegal on every possible level. Apparently, then the young individual looked him in the eye and shot him in the head. That is illegal on every possible level. Apparently, then the young individual then went to 3 different homes before someone agreed to help him. Actors put a lie on the ground with his head up, which, not necessarily ideal. But that part isn't illegal. Right? You're under no obligation to help. You probably should, but you don't have to. But the shooting in the head thing, no. Jarl is a bass clarinet with the Missouri All-Star Band, plays several instruments. He's an excellent student, apparently. He's currently recovering from his injuries and doing well physically. Or necessarily ideal. But That part isn't illegal. Right? You're under no obligation to help. You probably should, but you don't have to. He's currently recovering from his injuries and doing well physically for the moment. His injuries and doing well physically for the moment. Graves say investigators will consider whether the suspect was protected by stand your ground. Unlikely. Unlikely. That what is the suspect was protected by stand your ground? Unlikely. That what is the basis for suspecting that this individual is trying to do you harm based on the information that's currently available? Maybe we don't have a complete picture. Maybe he was doing something more than merely ringing a doorbell. But based on the information, Martin says, yeah. Information's available. Standard ground. I don't think so. But okay. These laws breed a society of violence and fear while providing cover for those who harm, maim, and kill. No, I don't think they do. And if the information is what it is, then charge with that. Convict them. Charge them with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. If you can prove it, charge attempted murder. Or wait and see if it gets worse. Charge them with murder. I don't know. Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. If you can prove it, charge attempted murder. Or wait and see if it gets worse. Charge him with murder. I don't know. But yeah, charge him. I don't know the problem with that. Yeah, I just use the free version of DaVinci. I don't have any editing skill, so I don't need anything more than simple editing. Okay. 2 days after the girl was shot, a 20-year-old woman was killed by a homeowner in upstate New York after the car she drove to the wrong address. So apparently this is a thing that happens from time to time in other places. Yeah. In that particular case, that person was charged with second-degree murder. In other places. In that particular case, that person was charged with second-degree murder because in that particular case, the person died or has died. Thus, because in that particular case, the person died. Thus, that is the case of the Missouri man who's currently being charged in the shooting of a black teenager at his front door. Based on the information that is currently available, this is not a good shoot. There doesn't seem to be any information available at this time that would lead you to the conclusion that there was any perceivable threat, from his perspective. It seems like a person went to the wrong door and rang on the doorbell or whatever, maybe banged on the door, maybe whatever. Conclusion, if there was any perceivable threat. It seems like a person went to the wrong door and rang on the doorbell or whatever, maybe banged on the door, maybe whatever, but this person decided to shoot first, ask questions later. And that's not how you do this thing. There does not appear to be any imminent threat. The person doesn't appear to have been breaking in. I'm live. The editing, I'm live. Something like that. So the information doesn't seem to really allow for that right now. But we will follow this story as it develops. And for the moment, that brings us to end discussion of this story. We are editing. We're trying to edit. Says the boy was trying to open the front door. Okay, why? Hold on. Thank you, Melissa. There we go. All right, great. All right. A creepy stranger who entered a woman's apartment. A creepy stranger who entered a woman's apartment, staring at her sleeping on the couch, has been charged with burglary after stealing a pair of socks. This is a different strange story. Here is a picture of a woman sleeping on a couch, and here is a picture of a man. A creepy stranger who entered a woman's apartment, staring at her sleeping on the couch, has been charged with burglary after stealing a pair of socks. This is a different strange story. Here is a picture of a woman sleeping on a couch, and here is a picture of a man watching her sleep for some reason. Okay. A stranger entered the woman's apartment and stared at her while she slept on the couch before fleeing of a woman sleeping on a couch. And here is a picture of a man watching her sleep for some reason. A stranger entered the woman's apartment and stared at her while she slept on the couch before fleeing after she woke up and stealing a pair of socks. Has been charged with burglary. I don't know if this is legally burglary or not. I don't know if this is legally burglary or not. Burglary her while she slept on the couch before fleeing after she woke up and stealing a pair of socks. I don't know if this is legally burglary or not. Burglary, incidentally, legally, in case you care, is entering a dwelling with intent to commit a felony therein. An example of which would be theft. But of course, you have to have the underlying intent, strictly legally speaking, when you enter. So technically, this could be trespassing and then theft. So you have to technically prove that he had the intent to commit the crime when he entered the house. So I'm not sure this is technically legally burglary, but it's weird anyway. Dan over here, 23, seen entering the home of the woman who says she didn't know him in the early morning hours of April 1st, not an April Fool's joke, or if it is, it's a really bad one. The individual entered the residence, spending 30 minutes inside. During the time, he's seen walking the entire apartment, at times staring at the woman. He's also seen organized woman who says she didn't know him in the early morning hours of April 1st, not an April Fool's joke, or if it is, it's a really bad one. The individual entered the residence, spending 30 minutes inside. During the time, he's seen walking the entire apartment, at times staring at the woman. He's also seen organizing shoes and placing them next to the couch. I'm glad you liked the soup. The soup worked out pretty well for me. I'm glad you liked it. He apparently turned himself in after recognizing himself on a news report. The woman spoke to Law and Crime saying, I slept with the TV on. He was super quiet. I think the combination of two is just how I kept sleeping. She said the intruder had been down to the kids' room. You know, it's creepy. Yeah, creepy is a pretty apt description of this, to be sure. He said that the individual woke her up after apparently bumping her knee. She asked who he was, but didn't get an answer. She asked again. He said, I'm the guy who dropped you off last night. Okay. Am I going over the Valo trial? As it comes up, I will. Who said she didn't know him in the early morning hours of April 1st, not an April Fool's joke, or if it is, it's a really bad one. The individual entered the residence, spending 30 minutes inside. During the time, he's seen walking the entire apartment, at times staring at the woman. He's also seen organizing shoes and placing them next to the couch. He apparently turned himself in after recognizing himself on a news report. The woman spoke to Law and Crime saying, I slept with the TV on. He was super quiet. I think the combination of two is just how I kept sleeping. He said the intruder had been down to the kids' room. You know, it's creepy. Yeah, creepy is a pretty apt description of this, to be sure. He said that the individual woke her up after apparently bumping her knee. She asked who he was, but didn't get an answer. She asked again. He said, I'm the guy who dropped you off last night. Okay. The woman said that she started screaming for her son. At that point, he's already headed to the door, apparently grabbing socks on the way out. She called the police, who took fingerprints. She told law enforcement she wanted to press charges. Yeah. She says that she has an idea of why he took organized for shoes. My assumption is he's on drugs or something. I didn't smell alcohol. Someone had come to my home earlier in the night after work and just absentmindedly forgot to lock the door. You know, okay. He's facing currently 2 counts of trespassing. Trespassing is probably, well, trespassing is the beginning. I mean, it's clearly trespassing. Burglary is a little bit harder. I mean, legally, but it's weird as shit. As to why the charges aren't more severe, it says he doesn't appear to have any nefarious intent. See, that's also why the burglary is a little bit difficult, because you have to prove the intent at the time of the incident. And to do the underlying, to do the felony, right? So that's the nature of burglary. You need trespass plus intent to do some other crime while you're there. That's what. How do I plan out my week? Well, right, for the last 2 weeks, and we're into week 3, we're doing this morning stream thing. And then I cut up the stories, usually earlier in the day. But I had something earlier that I couldn't avoid. So we're doing it now. And then usually I post one of the stories in the early afternoon, and then usually one around 6. So I usually do the morning stream, or what I've been doing the last 2 weeks. I've been doing the morning stream, and then trying to post a story around 3, and then post one around 6. That's what my content schedule has been. Plus, as there would be occasion to, we would do streaming on top of that if there was breaking news or whatever. So if he just entered and then incidentally to that at some later time decides to steal things, it's not legally practically. He mentioned that there was some alcohol. what was involved, but that was really it. It sounded like you didn't have any ill intention. I don't know if there's confusion. It went over visiting someone and it got mixed up. That's a hell of a mix up, by the way. I mean, I suppose that's true too. I guess technically it could also not be trespass because if he thought he had intent, if he thought he had permission to enter, because he went to the wrong place. But you know, you would think that you would figure it out somewhere before the 30 minutes and rearranging the shoes. So, yeah. The woman who's lives in the apartment is not. How do I have time for the gym? Well, I usually do that when I haven't been doing it the last 2 weeks because I've been a little bit ill. But usually I do the gym in the early afternoon. So usually I would do it because I don't have to be at my desk when the story posts. So I would typically do it around 3 o'clock or so. Is when I typically do the gym. And then of course Monday evenings I have my improv comedy group. And then Fridays, typically Friday Night Frenzy. That's good stuff. It out somewhere before the 30 minutes and rearranging the shoes. The woman who's lives in the apartment is not currently satisfied with the charges. I feel the lead should be either burglary or assault. And I'm not sure it's either of those things. To be honest, I was in fear for my life when I woke up. I have trouble sleeping. I wake up in the night to look to see if anyone's in my room. I just want to see my justice system go. Yeah, well, this is a very, very strange story, and Yes, I have an email. My email is kurt@uncivillawllc.com. KURT at uncivillawllc.com. Do not doubt this woman has some very strong feelings of it, but is it legally assault? Questionable. Is it legally burglary? Questionable. I guess technically it could be even questionable as to whether it's trespass. This is a weird story for sure. Thus, that brings us to the end of the story of the guy who entered the apartment with the sleeping woman and helped her by rearranging her shoes for some reason. Weird. And yeah, he's been found, and we're trying to figure out what to charge him with because this is a weird, weird story. So, trespass is a good place to start. We'll go from there. At least for a moment, that brings us to the end of the discussion of this story. I won't cut up the Fox News story because it's already out of date. So we'll do it tomorrow and cut that up instead. Don't. It was too short to cut up. Do I want to do this Derek Chauvin thing long form? I'll cut it up, but I'm not sure if I'm going to post it or not. You will remember Derek Chauvin from the whole incident with George Floyd in Minnesota, with being pressed to the ground and the whole 9 minutes. Yes, gyms are swimming's cool. Legal-minded friends, Karen Cole says, I started watching Kurt during Debt Be Heard. Like his thought pattern and analyzing law. I've been in the justice system for over 40 years. Kurt is fair, balanced, which is refreshing. It's really nice. Thank you. It's really kind of you. Thank you. I try. I also aim for intellectual consistency. I appreciate that. You will remember Derek Chauvin from the whole incident with George Floyd in Minnesota with being pressed to the ground and the whole 9 minutes and change thing. And he was convicted and sentenced to prison for murder. And he appealed. The Court of Appeals has taken a look at his appeal and unsurprisingly denied it. There were many issues raised by Derek Chauvin, but the most interesting legal issue to me was the issue of venue. Was this trial held in the right place? And should the jury have been sequestered? The idea being that holding it in this particular jurisdiction was unduly prejudicial because of all the surrounding problems, that it was basically impossible to get a fair jury and or a fair trial, and or the jury was either subconsciously or perhaps more pressured by ongoing protests and led to a potentially unfair verdict. So we're going to review that particular issue and see what the Court of Appeals has to say on that. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Derek Chauvin argues the district court abused discretion by denying motions to change venue, continue the trial, and sequester the jury. One of the nicest things you can ever say to me is just that I'm knowledgeable and informed and logical and reasoned. That's really makes me feel good inside. Derek Chauvin argues the district court abused discretion by denying motions to change venue, continue the trial, and sequester the jury because publicity and riots both before and during the trial, combined with the city's announcement of settlement, create a presumption of prejudice. And the jurors actually were prejudiced. Generally, criminal trials must be held in the county where the offense was committed, unless rules dictate otherwise. A district court must grant a motion to change venue or continue the trial whenever potentially prejudicial material creates a reasonable likelihood a fair trial cannot be had. A party moving to sequester the jury either at the beginning of trial or during trial. Similar to requirements for change of venue or continuance, sequestration must be ordered if the cases of such notoriety or the issues are of such nature that in absence of sequestration, highly prejudicial matters are likely to come to the jury's attention. This court will not reverse a district court's decision on whether to grant venue absent clear abuse of discretion. Okay, that makes sense. That would be a typical legal standard for a court of appeals. Abuse of discretion. All right. Similarly, the question of whether to grant continuance or sequester jury is left to the discretion of the trial court. Whether the district court abuses discretion depends on whether it properly assesses the likelihood prejudicial material would affect the impartiality of the jury. Prospective jurors cannot be presumed partial solely on. I appreciate you guys being here, by the way. I was feeling a little lonely. This helps a little bit. Thanks. Grounds of exposure to trial publicity. A fair trial does not mean jurors must be totally ignorant of facts and issues involved in an important case, and scarcely any of those best qualify as a service juror will not form some impression or opinion. The Supreme Court has aptly described this as prominence does not necessarily produce prejudice, and juror impartiality does not require ignorance. Okay, as general principles go, that certainly makes sense. Under Minnesota law, a criminal defendant seeking reversal on pre-trial publicity must show actual prejudice. However, the Supreme Court has recognized that in rare cases, Publicity surrounding a child may be so corrupting it raises a presumption of jury prejudice. Regardless of whether the appellant bases their challenge on actual or presumed prejudice, the ultimate test remains whether prospective jurors can set aside their impression or opinion and render an impartial verdict. Well, okay. I mean, that sounds like the right legal standard to be in place, although I'm questioning how we're getting to the end conclusion of this is totally fine, given these factors, but okay. Based on both Minnesota law and Supreme Court precedent, we hold that when a criminal defendant moves to change venue, continue the trial or sequester on the grounds that publicity surrounding the trial create actual or presumed prejudice, a district court does not abuse its discretion by denying the motion if it takes sufficient mitigating steps and verifies the jurors can set aside their impressions. To establish actual prejudice, a defendant must show publicity influence specific jurors involved in this case. Factors appellate courts may consider include, among others, whether publicity was factual, the length of time between publicity and trial, and whether this court mitigated. Chauvin fails to show prejudice. First, with few exceptions, the publicity was generally factual in nature. Chauvin claims numerous news stories said Chauvin had his knee on Floyd's neck and Floyd could not breathe. Martin says, I think if Kurt let go of some of its requirements and just did as a social activity, he wouldn't be so lonely. However, the record, including video, showed that Chauvin had one knee on Floyd's back and one on his neck. Second, while Chauvin identifies the extent of publicity, it fails to analyze the content or explain why it prejudiced him. Second, I'm sorry, Martin. Which of my requirements should I give up? How can I make you happy? Just tell me how to live my life at this point, Martin. Why don't you just tell me what to do? Since you have so many goddamn ideas. Although the trial started in March 2021, approximately 10 months after the death, the district court found the trial was very likely to generate substantial publicity regardless of when and where it was held. So moving the trial or delaying it would not have made a difference. This is consistent with the Minnesota Supreme Court's reasoning that nowhere in the state would that defendant face a jury unexposed to publicity. And even if publicity might die down, it would reoccur once the trial started. Third, the district court took numerous steps to verify the seated jurors would be fair and impartial. In Bloom, the Supreme Court concluded the district court did not abuse discretion by denying motions to change. Martin, I've told you why 35 is the limit. I've explained it many times. Fucking bullshit. Continue the trial and sequester, because among other actions, it continued to reevaluate the change of venue motions as new information arose. It questioned the jurors individually and extensively. Verified all 15 jurors indicated they'd reached a verdict solely based on the evidence. Ensure the jurors have been exposed to pre-trial publicity. Agreed to follow the court's instructions. And instructed the jurors not to discuss the case. Similarly, in a case called Fairbanks, the Supreme Court held that actual prejudice does not occur when a jury questionnaire is used, the parties consulted in advance about which jurors should be excused, the district court granted each party additional preemptory challenges, voir dire was conducted outside the presence of other jurors, the court gave defense counsel ample opportunity to question jurors, none of the 16 indicated they had formalized opinions, and Fairbanks did not use all its preemptory Wilson, Bloom, and Fairbanks, the district court here took similar steps. The district court allowed Chauvin to renew his motion to change venue, continue the trial, sequester the jury, or an anonymous jury, and conduct the jury selection by sequestration. Require jurors to complete a comprehensive jury questionnaire. Direct the jurors not to read anything about the trial, and promptly move any juror who did not follow the admonishment. Allow the parties to consult and stipulate to remove jurors for cause without summoning. Immediately remove for cause any prospective juror who had formed an opinion, and increase the number of defense preemptory challenges to 18. Moreover, Chauvin did not use all his preemptory challenges and had 3 left. Unused preemptory challenges suggest the defendant is satisfied, jurors selectively beyond bias. Finally, importantly, despite publicity, riots, and heightened security, all jurors served confirmed they could decide the case based on evidence. As an initial matter, Chauvin has not identified any Minnesota precedent in which an appellate court reversed a conviction based on presumption of prejudice due to publicity. Moreover, Supreme Court case law in which publicity results in a presumed jury prejudice involves circumstances more extreme than those in Chauvin. For example, in a different case, the Supreme Court held that failure to change venue violated that defendant's due process rights when his interview was broadcast on television multiple times, throwing him in jail, flanked by sheriffs and 2 state troopers, admitting details of the robbery and murder in response to leading questions. In a different case, the Supreme Court held publicity surrounding trial raised presumption of prejudice. In a different case, the Supreme Court held that publicity surrounding the trial raised presumption of prejudice when newspapers' accounts revealed the defendant's criminal behavior history in the juvenile record, confessed to 6 murders and offered to plead guilty, and 8 of the 12 jurors said they thought the defendant was guilty during the trial. Well, that's pretty bad. Chris, I haven't had any experiences that are even like that. So I don't know what your world is. And in Shepard, the U.S. Supreme Court held the presumption of prejudice existed where media sensationalized the murder of Shepard's pregnant wife and characterized the silence and refusal to take a lie detector evidence of guilt. The trial was based on media circuits, with press taking over the courtroom, and sitting at a table inside a bar less than 3 feet from the jury box, hampering defense counsel's ability to assist with Shepard. Jurors were photographed as they entered or left the courtroom. News articles falsely accused defense counsel of improper conduct. Jurors were constantly exposed to the media, but the court did not admonish them to avoid exposure. The trial began 2 weeks before a hotly contested election, in which the prosecutor and judges were candidates for judgeship. The district court did nothing to control the atmosphere. I mean, Shepard was pretty fucked up. We've discussed Shepard before. Shepard was pretty fucked up. They took photographs of the jurors, and they published the photographs of the jury while the trial was ongoing, with the jurors' names and addresses. Unlike these prior cases, none of these cases were. Unlike these prior cases, none of the publicity here included Chauvin confessing the crime. Also in Shepard, the prosecutor made many comments about how the defendant was remaining silent and how he was really bad for doing it. Unlike the prior cases, none of the publicity here includes Chauvin confessing the crime. Further, the district court took numerous steps to prevent the trial from becoming unduly corrupted by press coverage, by sequestering jurors during jury selection, deliberation, as well as controlling media access to the trial by precluding video. I mean, that's true. The jury was sequestered during deliberation itself. Not during the trial, but during deliberation. And its associated publicity was not so corrupted. It's raised the presumption of a jury partiality under either Minnesota or Supreme Court precedent. While there was substantial security around the courthouse during the trial, it was in place to ensure a safe trial for the party. As the district court pointed out, a smaller courthouse in a different venue would be unable to account for security. We conclude the district court took sufficient steps to mitigate publicity and verify the jury, and therefore did not abuse the statute. Well, I don't know about any of that, to be honest. I mean, it's certainly not as extreme as some of the most extreme cases that have been reviewed by courts before. But this case was pretty notable in the modern era for publicity. And the things going on outside the court And I don't know. Presumably, there are other courthouses in Minnesota that could have done this. I mean, maybe I just needed to date some mid-30s divorcees. Maybe that's the answer. You know, perhaps not the smallest. You know, I don't know. I have questions. But as Court of Appeals, is it abuse of discretion? Abuse of discretion. So, this is an interesting issue because if you want this outcome, then it's pretty easy to get there. And you just saw how they did get there, right? It's pretty easy. So, if you want to say it's not an abuse of discretion, you can get there. But if you want to say the reverse of that, I think there's also a pretty justifiable case. I mean, the voir dire process was fun. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the voir dire process. But you're about to graduate law school and you've never been so terrified. Maybe I need to go back on Tinder. Not that I had any luck in Tinder in the first place. All right, let's take a look. Yeah, I'm still covering Supreme Court stuff. There was a good oral argument today. There's a good one tomorrow, too. Good in New Zealand? Maybe New Zealand's the answer. We begin with a story that was breaking yesterday. A Missouri man has been charged with shooting a black teenager in front of his door. This does not seem to be a lawful shooting based on the information that is currently available. This seems to be a person who way overreacted to things that do not cause this and probably will result in a murder charge, I would imagine, and probably a conviction. The 85-year-old white man shot a black teen in his front door last week. Has been charged with armed assault. Well, yeah, it's not that. So he can't be charged with murder. I apologize. Well, that's not actually technically speaking true because we don't know if he'll die. So if he dies at some point in the future related to it, and it could potentially be months or even years from now. So that murder charge, that's still possible, right? It was like we don't know if he's dead yet. I mean, he isn't dead today, but if he dies tomorrow, and it could be years from now if he dies as a result of a gunshot. So I wouldn't be too sure on that murder charge. But at the moment, armed assault. The prosecutors say to Newscom that Andrew Lester shot the 16-year-old who's recovering at his home, who's currently been released from the hospital. Again, legally, if he has some sort of damage to his body as a result of the gunshot, you can prove that damage caused his death, murder. So, something to look forward to. When asked if there was something that made him believe it was racially motivated, there is nothing currently charged in the documents on that. What apparently happened you know, yes. The Missouri Senate held a moment of silence. The shooting happened Thursday night in a middle-class neighborhood in Kansas. Jarl was sent to pick up his twin younger brother. He didn't have a phone with him, and he went to the wrong block. You know, it happens. People get lost. Sometimes they just knock on the door because they're lost and they want help or their car breaks down. And of course, you're under no particular obligation to them. But you don't shoot them in the head. Yates said he asked his to pick up his brothers at a home at 115th Terrace, but mistakenly went to 115th Street. I mean, you know, yeah. Jarl then apparently pulled into the home and rang the doorbell. And according to the family, at least, the man opened the door, looked him in the eye, and shot him in the head. That is illegal on every possible level. Apparently, then the young individual then went to 3 different homes before someone agreed to help him. After he was pulled to lie on the ground with his hands up, which, you know, not necessarily ideal. But that part isn't illegal. Right? You're under no obligation to help. You probably should, but you don't have to. He's currently recovering from his injuries and doing well physically for the moment. Graves say investigators will consider whether the suspect was protected by stand your ground. Unlikely. That what is the basis for suspecting that this individual is trying to do you harm? Based on the information that's currently available, maybe we don't have the complete picture. Maybe he was doing something more than merely ringing a doorbell. But based on the information that's available, stand your ground. I don't think so. But okay, these laws breed a society of violence and fear while providing cover for those who harm, maim, and kill. No, I don't think they do. And if the information is what it is, then charge the guy. Convict him. Charge him with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. If you can prove it, charge attempted murder. Or wait and see if it gets worse. Charge him with murder. I don't know. But yeah, charge him. I don't have a problem with that. 2 days after Jarl was shot, a 20-year-old woman was killed by a homeowner in upstate New York after the car she drove to the wrong address. So apparently this is a thing that happens from time to time in other places. In that particular case, that person was charged with second-degree murder because in that particular case, the person died. Thus, that is the case of the Missouri man who's currently being charged in the shooting of a black teenager at his front door. Based on the information that is currently available, this is not a good shoot. There doesn't seem to be any information available at this time that would lead you to the conclusion that there was any perceivable threat. It seems like a person went to the wrong door and rang on the doorbell or whatever, maybe banged on the door, maybe whatever, but this person decided to shoot first, ask questions later. And that's not how you do this thing. There does not appear to be any imminent threat. The person doesn't appear to have been breaking in, or something like that. So the information doesn't seem to really allow for that right now. But we will follow this story as it develops, and for the moment, that brings us to the end discussion of this story. A creepy stranger who entered a woman's apartment, staring at her sleeping on the couch, has been charged with burglary after stealing a pair of socks. This is a different strange story. Here is a picture of a woman sleeping on a couch, and here is a picture of a man watching her sleep for some reason. A stranger entered the woman's apartment and stared at her while she slept on the couch before fleeing after she woke up and stealing a pair of socks. I don't know if this is legally burglary or not. Burglary, incidentally, legally, in case you care, is entering a dwelling with intent to commit a felony therein. An example of which would be theft. But, of course, you have to have the underlying intent, strictly legally speaking, when you enter. So, technically, this could be trespassing and then theft independent. So, you'd have to technically prove that he had the intent to commit the crime when he entered the house. So, I'm not sure this is technically legally burglary, but it's weird anyway. Dan over here, 23, seen entering the home of the woman who says she didn't know him in the early morning hours of April 1st, not an April Fool's joke, or if it is, it's a really bad one. The individual entered the residence, spending 30 minutes inside. During the time he's seen walking the entire apartment, at times staring at the woman. He's also seen organizing shoes and placing them next to the couch. He apparently turned himself in after recognizing himself on an suspect was the issue of venue. Was this trial held in the All right. All right, that looks good. I'm talking about dating. I'm talking about dating. Or love. I don't have lots of time. No, I don't. Well, we might only get one story out of today's session, but at least we did our editing. Because I don't think, I'm not sure the wrong door shooting and the Chauvin shooting will make the cut. The man entering the home was kind of fun, though. Hey, Sandra. I'm sorry, I was just trying to be honest. If you'd prefer me not to talk about it, I won't. Hello, angels. I I don't know how to talk about it without just being honest. It's like, look, it is a real problem. Like I don't know how to I don't know how to talk about it otherwise. I don't think I can go much longer. Yeah. I'm I've been happier when I've been in relationships. And I mean these are I was trying to talk to you about this as well, Runkle, when we were together. You know, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. You know, but I mean I tried talking to you about this in person. I mean, you know the issues. Yeah. Here's what I think. Here's what I think. I think that people in general come in, well, I think people in general come with all kinds of preferences and all kinds of needs. And I think different people need different things. And I think that's part of the human condition. And there are certain people who have no desire for companionship, don't want it, would be perfectly happy without it. It wouldn't bother them. Um, but I think that being the case for some people doesn't mean it's true for everyone, nor does it mean it's true for me. And I think that there are some people who do need other people in their lives. And I think that includes romantic relationships. And I think that a failure to have that, if you're the kind of person who needs it, is a drain on you in a real way. You know? Saying that other people can be happy without it is no answer. You know? I think some people need companionship and some people don't. And I think I need companionship and I don't have it. And I think that, you know, I think it eats away at me and I think that I don't have forever. I read a study one time, or I saw a study one time that suggested that loneliness is as dangerous as smoking in terms of lifespan and impact on people's health. That for people who need that companionship, not having it is as dangerous as regular smoking in terms of the impact on their health. And, you know, I think that my health has been in decline and I think that I don't think I can keep going. That's what I think. So I don't think, I don't, I think I can't keep going. You know? Oh, holy hell, says Kurt, stop it. Okay, I'll stop it. Why is my chin orange? Last of my red hair peeking through, I guess. Last of my red hair before it all turns white. My hair isn't as orange as it used to be. All right, Martin. I tried. I really did. But this is the end, my friend. I don't know if it's my failing or yours, but I can't do this anymore, Martin. I'm sorry. Your party July 1st, I'd forgotten all about it. Make sure to send me a reminder as we get closer to the date. Well, I didn't mean stop talking or trying. Well, I don't know what stop it means otherwise. What is it that you wanted me to stop? I don't understand. I don't understand. What is it you wanted me to stop? If you didn't want me to stop talking, what do you want me to stop? To stop feeling certain ways? So those feelings are what exactly is it that you want me to stop? You want me to stop feeling that way? Those feelings are illegitimate? The feelings are wrong? The desires are wrong? I don't understand. No. They want me to stop feeling bad and saying things. Well, I can stop talking. I can do that. But it's not fair to ask me to stop feeling certain ways. I mean, I just spent some time trying to explain it in what seems like a fairly logical way. I don't know where in that thought process, it's like, well, follow the chain of reasoning. Follow the chain of reasoning through. It's like, okay. Like, all right, is it the case? Is it the case that everybody doesn't need companionship? It's just a nice to have. Is that the premise? Is that the proposition? Is the prop? I mean, the proposition is certain people are content without relationships. Certain people are content without things. Therefore, all people should be that way. It's wrong or incorrect to feel like it's something that's essential or missing from your life. That's a wrong thing to feel. If it is a correct thing to feel, then why isn't it a correct thing for me to feel that way? Right? It's like, where exactly in this chain of thought is the problem? It's like I've identified a problem, that something is missing. It seems to relate to a fairly common human experience. Right? So like, I don't think what I'm expressing as a desire is a completely illegitimate desire. It seems like a thing that many people desire and many people gain value from. So I don't think my desire is atypical. So like, it's like, okay, so if you're lacking if you're lacking something that's essential, that's going to cause a problem because it's essential. That's what the nature of something essential is. So like, I don't know. And like, you know, I cannot talk about it if you like. But if I'm talking about it, I'm talking about it, right? So like, you know. So what made me move to Texas? Um Dealing with issues of depression. And trying to create a impetus for change. Looking for alternatives. Yeah. And Thiele says, you don't think relationship is essential. Do you mean for you personally or for anybody? Because if you say anybody, that seems like a difficult position. It's a mystery. Well, send me an email, kurt@uncivillawllc.com. Include a photograph. We'll talk. You know. Anyways. So yeah. I'm gonna sign off for now, I guess. Joe is doing a stream on Twitter. Maybe I'll join that. To talk about this Dominion thing. Maybe I'll join that. Take 5 minutes and join that instead. Can I type my email in chat? Sure. It's kurt@uncivillawllc.com. It's available on my about page and my link tree and all the other stuff too. And Joe Neerman, Good Logic. Good Logic is having a stream. So I might join that. And talk about Dominion. All right. This stream will become private, I guess. It's been fun. Talk to you later. Bye.